shallow. And I think you end up using these both well.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's it. I mean, basic, and then everything else is just how you want to design it.
So you really didn't pull it up much in the
No.
beginning at all.
And I like to leave a little bit more on the rims. I like the way it looks. I think for most of us in here, you guys, it would be a bad idea to start thinking about big terms that you might hear all the time. Aesthetic valuing. Like, what do you like? Because there's some shapes that I look at and I'm like, people go, oh my god, this is neat, look at this piece. And I look at it and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't really, to me it doesn't really grab me visually. So, that's okay. So that becomes your own personal aesthetic that you value. It's not everything that I like, you're going to like. You know, you may have, maybe you spent summers with your grandmother and she collected all these, pieces of pottery in some case, and you'd always stare at them, but she'd never let you touch them, but you'd have those forms imprinted in your mind forever, and so when you sit here at the wheel and start making stuff, that comes out, and you enjoy those things, and you want to try and make things that are similar to those. That's your aesthetic value. I can't give that to you, that has to be something you bring. But I think that you have to start considering that and open that up, or make a file in your brain for that. What do I like? What do I think sucks? I think you have to have things that go, I'm not really into that, and know why. I mean, you have to. Last story about like bulls and aesthetic value is I assisted this lady in Kate Armstrong in undergraduate school, and she's like, let me see your pots, we'll check them out. And so I started bringing them over, and I had like this pot like about this tall, and it was probably like a half a bag of clay, and I thought I could, okay at throwing, and it was probably only maybe 7 inches high, and it was just heavy, because I think I probably used like a half a bag of clay, it was probably like this big around. And she's like, what's that? And I go, it's a vase. And she's like, what would you put in it? Like a flower. She's like, what flowers are that short? She's like, what would you put in there? I mean, short flowers then. And she's like, well, but the opening's like this wide. How are you gonna? She's like, are you gonna put? Later on I thought about it, and it's like I didn't know it, but I guess I could have put some of that green florist foam in there and do whatever. But I didn't know that. So she's challenging me. So I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I didn't know why I made that piece. I just made it, and I just had no idea. She hated it because the rim was so thin on it. She's like, well, tell me about the rim. I go, what do you mean? She's like, I go, well, I just made up some whatever. And I was already intimidated and scared and nervous to ask now. And she goes, well, the rim's really thin. And she picks up the pot, and she's like, this thing weighs a ton. The rim's probably, 10 times thinner than the rest of the pot. So it's not very balanced. And then this became like this, and then she it was just like punch after punch after punch, But I was ready, and I think I needed that, and I remember it, and it definitely was a great lesson for me, and to start looking at my own work. What's horrible, and what's good, and even what's horrible, why is it horrible, and why do I not like it, and what's good, and why it is good. I think there's definitely foundational things for just a functional standpoint. So the thin rim, the reason why, she's like, if you had a bowl, and you bang a spoon on it, let's say you put potato salad in it, and you bang the spoon on the edge, you chip it. Or if you're like me, we don't have a dishwasher, and you put it in the sink, and you have other pots going there, you probably chip the rim because it's thin. So they need to survive being moved around, and so a thin rim is not that. Now, the thin rim's not bad, or thin lips is what she called it. And she's like, I don't trust anybody with thin lips, so I don't want them on pots either. And then, or feet that are too big, like meaning the base of it too big for the pot. She's like, I don't think people with big feet look right either. That's weird, right? So she started relating to like people. And she's like, they have the base, and then I started making another conversation. I started making these bowls, because I started making the bowls, and then my feet were too small, and they tipped over. And so she's like, well, the feet are too small, a big person with like a big fat person with little tiny feet, they're gonna tip over. And so that I was like, oh, and I never thought about that. Because I would just sit there and just try to make big pots, and I had no idea. And so, but I was ready for that, and I was open for that. And so I think for you guys, I think you guys are ready, and that needs that conversation with yourself in your head. No, I'm right. What happens is people